Yo, what is going on, guys? It is your boy Kimbo here, and it's time for a very, very epic video. So, recently got the haircut, nice and trimmed and all that good stuff. So, yeah, big time hype. But we're gonna get into it, man. It's an epic Beyblade burst, Superking or Sparking discussion video. So obviously the most recent episode, I think it was what, like 27, episode 27. We're over the halfway hump for sure. For the season, and we're getting to the point I call it like the dark period. So the dark period basically being a period where we don't know what exactly we're gonna get. We have like some ideas obviously for like the next month, because just TT Coro putting out news and such. But besides that, honestly not knowing exactly what's gonna be coming. So it makes me big time hyped though, because Superking is a series, honestly, thus far, I've definitely enjoyed it for sure. Like having some of our favorite characters come back for this endgame level feeling season, but it definitely needs to get, in my opinion, more crazy and just having everybody, I mean everybody joining on this fight, the very, very strongest, and it doesn't feel like we're definitely at that level yet. But we've had some crazy things happen, obviously being like, some of our favorite characters coming back, and recently the Legend Festival, kind of coming to an end, almost being at an end, but the way that they built it up being really crazy. So the most recent episode having Iga versus Lane. I was honestly terrified for the beginning of this, just because, just how absolutely bonkers, the Legend Festival was in general. Before I get into big time spoiler territory about stuff, give you 5 seconds, if you don't want to know what goes on, you've been warned. But yeah, now we're gonna get into it. Everybody that's seen the episodes and such, and just talking about the future. So Iga versus Lane, it being a really, really intense battle, and also me just personally being nervous about it, like I said, because of what Lane did to Ranjiro, wrecking his Ragnarok and completely just obliterating it and breaking it, and also injuring Ranjiro to the point where he had to be in a sling. Recently, he's definitely feeling better, and it seems like he's out of that sling. He's just acting like he's in the sling to bring some more motivation to Iga and the others, it seems like. Especially Iga, because Iga and Ranjiro are basically the closest of friends. We saw how things went with Chozi. The story's been already written with them, and it makes complete sense, But kind of extra fuel for Iga, Ranjiro is definitely trying to help him out that way, since there aren't like many crazy battles happening, battles happening with them, of course. But yeah, dude, just overall, really love how they've even developed all the characters and made them all look very, very strong. Even some characters like, Rantaro and Ranjiro, I see being kind of the lowest rank of like the Legend Bladers, honestly. But the fact that they're Legend Bladers and still this strong, there's a lot of very, very powerful Bladers, and the fact that they at least gave them the credibility was really, really sick and made them look really strong with some of the battles. So definitely enjoyed that. But yeah, man, it's got to get even crazier, because with this season, it's like I said before, they've got to outdo everything that they've done thus far to make it a really, really convincing endgame level feel of a season, because a lot of stuff's happened with Burst history. We've all seen it. We've all seen all the different seasons and episodes and such. Everything that's led up to this point, with all these legends coming back and just being like united on these different levels and ranks, and slowly kind of getting those ranks. But yeah, man, I feel like the ones that we've really gotten to see like their full extent of their power, definitely being like Rantaro, Ranjiro, and Cisco, in my opinion. Even making Rantaro seem strong, because he managed to burst, like, it was a double burst, but Valkyrie and Ragnarok with that battle. So they definitely made Rantaro look really, really strong in the Legend Festival, and that's one thing I definitely like big time. But yeah, basically leading up to this point, Iga versus Lane in a really, really intense battle, and with it, Lane getting the win over Iga. And first of all, wondering if Achilles could be used in that balanced mode, because it obviously has the infinite sword and the infinite shield. And just how Achilles is, it's like, does that middle mode get used? Because they only showed it like with its middle mode when they first showed it off, before we even found out all the info about Achilles. And sure enough, it could be used, and definitely like seeing them like okay. And some people might be mad because like Iga used the middle mode instead of like the Union Sword or the Union Shield. I don't mind it personally because just plot for one, it made Lane look strong because obviously with the battle they faced off and Lane managed to beat Iga with a burst. He didn't break Achilles, so definitely was glad seeing that. I was honestly afraid of it. I guess it's just like a given at this point. If he uses the variant wall, it might just end up in a burst. Not seeing really any breaks happening with it unless his flare becomes crazy to the point where even the variant wall starts breaking base. But when he uses the variant press, like it's variant press or variant wall press. I think it's variant press. When he uses that, that's a definite guarantee for your base toast. If it gets stuck in that, I mean, you're pinned up against the wall, the crazy concrete of the stadium, mixed with like the power of Lucifer, and plus that barrier being so strong that it completely covers the bay. Like it's not just you're pinned against the wall, like how how like the Dead Stinger was, the different parts of like Phoenix, the armor, and also Phoenix itself hitting the bay, causing a massive like explosion, and then the bay breaking from it. But you pin it against the wall, and literally the wall of Lucifer itself is trapping the bay in. So even if it gets has some way of fighting back, there's literally no way to fight back because it's pinned up against the wall. And that wall, both sides, it traps the bay in. And that's really, really crazy to see for sure. It's like the ultimate just destructive move. So when Lane uses that move, definitely has me nervous because he's going to use it in the future. And it's like whenever he uses that move, because Ranjiro is definitely the bell ringer for it, whenever he uses that move, it's going to lead to probably a bay breaking. So nobody's going to want to get trapped in that. But, there wasn't an absolute break with it, and I'm definitely glad about that. And also, it makes sense because Achilles hasn't even been released yet. It comes out with the random booster that comes out October. I think it's the 24th it gets dropped. And it would make no sense to have Iga's Bay break before it even comes out, But Achilles has looked really strong throughout the duration of the season, with the short time it's been in the show. I mean, managed to get the KO on Lucifer, then obviously that meaning Lane get upset and be like, okay, I'm really focusing on you, and I'm not going to lose again. You're going to have to face my true flare. And then sure enough, he did, and then Lane won. But it's also scary because, Lane won. He managed to win against Iga with the burst, and that shows some serious power that he has. And his flare is only going to keep growing because he said in the battle with Louis that when his flare reaches his maximum level, Shu, his trainer, Shu, Koronai Shu, I'm going to throw it all at you. So he's going to be focusing on Shu big time. But there are crazy battles we have to see with this. And I know some people are probably wondering, what the heck? Why didn't we get to see the full power of Louis or Free in this, etc., etc.? It's because TT's decided to save it. Seeing those battles, they're worthy of being 1v1 battles where they're going full out. So, the rematch between Lane and Louis. People probably waiting for that. Lane and Free facing off again. I know that's one I'm waiting for big time, and it's going to be really intense seeing that because the first time they faced off, obviously when he had first Uranus, and still pretty sure he broke Geist Fafnir. That's why Free has such a vendetta against him, and every time he sees his flare or such, he just gets psyched up and gets in the zone because it's Free, and you're making Free get that serious about you. Yeah, definitely makes sense, And then also the battle with Lane and Shu because they've hyped that up big time. That's 3 battles with Lane that are already just big time hype at this point. But also on top of that, the characters they could bring in with this. So, I know I've said it a lot, but literally at this point, it being a dark period, TT can do whatever they want to from here on in because we've seen all the characters that are advertised on the front, on the front art. That including Lane, kind of the big ominous figure that's obviously Lane, and then all the legends that have come in. They've all come into this point, and the last one we're going to be getting is Iga with his Achilles when the random booster drops at the end of this month. So after that, they could throw in whoever they want to. And it's like I've said, we've had some crazy moments with Burst. Absolutely amazing moments that are totally memorable. I mean, the first season, just, rivalry between Shu and Louis, and then Vault coming in to the fray with things. And then after that, everything that happened with God, with the snake pit, with Ashton Theodore being the main ruler of it, even Norman being like Gold Eye, obviously Shu with his red eye persona at that point, becoming fully evil and such, and just going after the power, and the introduction of Free, just crazy things with God and evolution. Really, really good days. And then obviously Iga coming in with Cho Z, the whole thing with Phi, Hearts, the battleship cruise, a bunch of different events going on, and then Phi when he had his Lord of Destruction or God of Destruction kind of gimmick. With the Dead Phoenix crisis going on, then going into GT with the drum, and then all the craziness happening towards the end with Hell showing up, Gwyn being in the fray, and then Gwyn having his corrupted power, Arthur with his apocalypse, and just facing off Hell versus the WBBA and the champion battle, and then Arthur coming in, and then all the craziness after that. All of that happening with Beyblade Burst history. A bunch of amazing build-ups and events. You got to beat them all out with this season, because in my honest, humble opinion, I know people get sad when I say it, but my honest opinion is that this might be the very last season of Burst that we do get, because the fact is we haven't gotten the 5th season for Beyblade ever. I mean, the Plastic Gen went for 3 seasons. Metal Fight Beyblade went for 4 seasons. Obviously, the 3 seasons of True Metal Fight Beyblade, and then Metal Fight Beyblade 0G or Shogun Steel, obviously being the future, going into the future, but still 4 seasons with that. And then for Burst, we're on our 5th season, so the pattern 3, 4, 5. It might be that this is truly the last season. I honestly feel like if they were to do another season, they'd have to feature like a bunch of characters that we don't see in this season if they do get stronger, but we're seeing the very strongest here, so don't know if it would really make sense. If they did that, it'll be cool to see those characters again, but if they do it, honestly, up in the air. But if this is the very last season of Beyblade Burst, then that TT has to go all out. They have to completely just go crazy with things. They have to make this the most convincing, crazy, world-threatening, intense season out of all of Beyblade Burst history. So they got to beat out all of those previous events, even just because honestly, the events with Phi during Cho Z, I think that's the craziest that we've gotten. I mean, it got a little crazy during GT with obviously Arthur with Apocalypse and then going with Genesis being that strong, but still. And even like season 2, like the events were really, really wild, But we got to see something that beats all of them out, and they got to build it up in this season. And I definitely think that they're definitely on their way to that. Because all the characters they could bring in with this at this point, because it being a dark period, we've always gotten a transformation set, towards the end of the year, that being mainly like November, December. Definitely can imagine a transformation set coming out. You can introduce 2 new characters with that, because like I said, the other transformation sets we got before introduced 2 new characters with each of them. And it started with Evolution or God, that being, the set with Arc Bahamut and Deep Chaos. We got it with that one. So we got Cleo and we got Boa, both with that set. Then the Cho Z one being Evel with his Orb Aegis, and then Shu with Cho Z Spriggan, both being in that set. And then the most recent one, the GT customized set, we got at the end of last year, featuring Regalia Genesis and Prime Apocalypse, man. Gwyn and Arthur both with that set. So if the pattern keeps going, and I mean we already got the beginning of that, because we got a triple booster set over the summer. We got Dragon in it. So definitely see us getting a transformation set soon for GT, the GT transformation set. The question is, what bays are TT going to put in it? If they're sticking with the pattern, definitely they could bring in 2 characters. The craziest thing they could do is if they make all 4 slots exclusive bays, like characters that are all coming back. That'll be the absolutely most bonker thing that they could do, man. That would be bonkers. It would be absolutely crazy if they do this. If they had it where like all 4 slots filled in characters that were coming back, but at least 2 of them, because that's what they've always done. At least there's like 2 of them, 2 characters coming back with this. So it's like I said, the big time characters I really want to see join the fray of this are Phi Gwyn, and Delta. Those are my top 3 to come back. Phi, because the only one that beat Phi was Iga, and we've seen how it is with Iga. I mean, Iga just lost to Lane. It might have been with the balance mode, but he still lost to Lane. It's not easy beating Iga, you know. And also, like, Gwyn coming in, Gwyn only lost to Drum with the power of victories combined. Definitely credibility for, Gwyn to come back for sure. And Delta as well, because Delta with Master Diabolos, obviously Venom and Erase, I've said it before, got broken by Arthur, but Delta came back with his Master and managed to beat Arthur. He also beat Drum. So anybody he's faced in a 1v1 with his Master, he is won. Now in the team battle, facing it off against like Gwyn at the very end, I think it was Gwyn and Arthur. Arthur went down, and then Gwyn actually had a crazy amount of power. We all know this. And then because of that, Diabolos stopped spinning and gave the power to Dragon, and Dragon won because of that. But that's literally the main loss that Diabolos had, and it was a spin finish. It wasn't a burst or anything. So they hyped up Delta this much. How can you leave that man out? Plus, World Spriggan having the same gimmick that Master Diabolos has. The flipping of the frame itself, the base itself. Literally the same gimmick. Really, really awesome gimmick, but it's the same gimmick, And plus, who else would want to see Delta go in some epic dream battles against some of these characters? Like Delta versus Louis, Delta versus Free, Delta versus Shu being a big one, man. Delta versus Vault, because it's mentor versus pupil. With that one, it'll be really, really sick to see it. And it definitely feels like not Venom and Erase, Death and Abyss Diabolos were both placeholder bays. We got them with the random booster, but they felt like too much of placeholders. 4-turn merge dash, pretty interesting combo, and strong, but it doesn't feel like the full-out combo for Diabolos. Even Abyss, 5 and Fusion dash don't feel like full-out combos for it. How are you going to give it Generate and not use it? I can imagine Generate dash, if they made that, I wouldn't even be upset, because Generate doesn't have any crazy LAD or stamina or anything. So Generate dash, put on the new Diabolos. That would be really awesome if we got to see Delta come back with a new Diabolos with Generate Dash. Even if it has like kind of the same gimmick that like it had before with Master and how World Spriggan does. Wouldn't even be upset, honestly. Really wouldn't. Just want to see Delta in the show because he's too awesome of a character to be left out of the fray of things. And plus he's in the manga. There's a bunch of characters in the manga, but I'll get into that in a little bit. And like I said about Gwyn, a new Genesis, come on, man. The Mugen Lock system with it. Such an awesome bay. Seeing a Superking version for it would be really, really sick, dude. So, yeah. It would be crazy if they made it where, like, Genesis would have, like, a chip that's removable, but they still managed to keep the Mugen Lock system somehow, some way. Either that or they just make it one piece, or wouldn't be upset. Just want to see Gwyn in the show because Gwyn's very, very strong and a definite credible character to come back. And yeah, like Phi, Gwyn, and Delta, all 3 of them had changes of hearts. They started out with kind of evil personalities. Well, definitely in the case of Phi and Delta. But for Gwyn, kind of just being a Genius Blader and then getting power corrupted and becoming evil. But still, all 3 of them have big-time credibility to come back, and they are the 3 characters I want to see come back the most, honestly. And I think that have the most credibility to come back. There are definitely other characters I want to see come back too. Like, I'd love to see, honestly, with Big Time Evil, like I mentioned before, like the Snake Pit. Like the Snake Pit, the remnants of the Snake Pit, the remnants of Dead Grand, the remnants of Hell. That being like Ashton Theodore, because the way that he explained it, and even said things during the 2nd season when Free left the Bulls and he lost to Louis, he was like, I'm not quite done with you yet. But Shu never faced Free during the God Waiters Cup. So was that foreshadowing? If that was foreshadowing, that's some absolutely devastating foreshadowing that he thought that far ahead. Not just thinking about the cup or anything. Because literally even during the God Waiters Cup, Ashton Theodore was up in the booth just looking down like he didn't care what happened. Even if Shu won or Shu lost. It was like, it was just a plan to further his research on things. To further his research so he can make a stronger, more devastating, quote-unquote, Requiem project. But something that's even more crazy strong than the Requiem project that he could use in the future. Like he's sitting in the shadows waiting for, like, things to be reborn again. And it'll be crazy because also Evel, he's the man that's behind the creation of Dead Phoenix. Like he was like Dead Phoenix, you say, the most powerful Bay ever, and he was like fascinated by it. And he has no emotion. Some people have, like somebody had mentioned that to me, like he has no emotion, and that could be dangerous because having no emotion can take you down a dark path. And just how he was before making Dead Phoenix, you definitely see that going further. Imagine those two crazy sadistic brainiacs working together, Ashton and Theodore and Evel. That combination even alone. But then you have the remnants of hell. Arthur, the so-called former king of Beyblade, wanted to be the king of Beyblade, going in and trying to be the absolute king, putting his knowledge in there as well, and also having the power to do it because Apocalypse. We saw how strong Apocalypse was. It broke Dragon and it broke Diabolos. Might have lost after that, but still strong enough to break those two bays. So it shows he has some serious power. Imagine those three brilliant minds that are fully evil connecting together, joining their power together, joining their knowledge together, and creating one group. And having the remnants of their groups join in with this. So that would honestly be really sick. The main ones being like Arthur and honestly Norman. Would love to see Norman Turner return because it would make full sense. Even the story with him, like, it's a ghost from his past, that being his Shu. Like, imagine Shu's just battling, and then Norman shows up out of nowhere with a brand new nemesis, and it's like Shu literally sees a ghost. We all know how strong Shu is, but Nemesis had a really cool gimmick, that being it switched the modes for it, and then having the Jaggy on it, they give it Jaggy Dash. Give it a new, like, a new nemesis, Jaggy Dash, full Superking level, to the uppercut point, like the crazy uppercut points that it had before, but figuring out how to make it that much stronger. That'll be really sick to see, man. Seeing Norman come back and him have a score. All of them would have their scores. Like I said, Ashtem with Vault, with Shu, with Free. Trying to mess with all of them. Evel, Iga, if they have Fi come back and be a good character, or even like kind of a tweener, like an anti-hero, like a badass character, like how Ryuga was during Metal Masters, coming in and just helping whenever he can, getting revenge on him. Even if they have Hearts come back, I'd love to see Hearts come back just because Hades is really sick. It's a really awesome bay, and he has a really good record, and I think has some definite credibility. Definitely got to be one of the strongest. Like, Hearts is a former champion, So, yeah, even having like vendettas against them, and then Arthur coming in, and then having the vendettas from the characters from GT. Got Drum in there right now. They have Delta come back, have him go up against Delta. Like come after Drum and Delta. Arthur would have full reasoning to go after those two because they ruined his plans the first time with Victories beating Hell. And then Gwen, also focusing on Gwen, because Gwen being a good character now definitely seems that way with how GT ended, and Gwen not being corrupted anymore. But Arthur didn't turn good. He still seemed evil. He comes back with a new Apocalypse. That would be really, really sick, man, seeing all these characters in there. And even going after Gwen because of how Gwen treated Arthur when Gwen was a part of Hell. Makes full sense, because when Gwen was corrupted with that power, just completely like, oh, get out of my face, like, let me take care of it, and bullying Arthur around. So it would be full reasoning for Gwen to come back too, or even like Arthur to come back. All of it would tie together. All of it would be a crazy struggle. And then you have like one of the ringmasters or the ringmaster be Lane. And then after all these events now, imagine they show up and be like, we're the ones that created Lane. Because how are you going to have it where First Uranus, like this blader, Lane Valhalla, shows up with First Uranus, a bay that's so strong that he already has a crazy flare, just showing up randomly in New York. And New York, of all places, it would be crazy if they built it up. So it's like Lane came to New York and he chose that place because Ashton's behind him. That would make perfect sense. It's like none of this is confirmed things, it's just speculation, obviously. Just to make it seem like a fully convincing, like, yeah, this is the end of the world, completely best story ever out of Burst storyline, it being built up like this. Lane being sent specifically to go to New York because Ashton or Theodore used to be the manager of the Bulls, and then when you went back into like the shadows, like say quote unquote Snake Pit, reviving the Snake Pit, Shu has control because he had control over it after he had left. And he also drove off and said, "You and Vault win this time," implying that he's going to come back with a vengeance and whoop them. Or think of a group or an entity to come back and whoop them for him, using his genius brain and such. But yeah. And then that being kind of the bell ringer, setting up for things. Like, he creates Lane with some kind of project that's stronger than even the Requiem project, to the point where he can grow exponentially. And that's why you have Lane going out of control with his flare, because it's how Shu was during evolution, because his flare was even growing during that final battle, but then Vault managed to stop it and save Shu. But this time they can't even stop it. No matter who faces off against him, they won't stop it. He'd just be Iga. Even if Iga was using the balance mode, still managed to beat Iga. That being crazy, man. Having that power where he whooped everybody in New York, to the point where Shu brought in Free, thinking Free could teach him a lesson, and he oofed Free. Probably broke Geist Fafnir, and that's why Free has such a vendetta against him, as said before. And his power growing this much to where he sends multiple legends back in one battle, the beginning of the Legend Festival. He managed to beat Louis and burst Longinus, man. Takes some serious power to do that. It shows his power. And he also broke Ranjiro's Ragnarok, and that being the bell ringer. So like I said, after this, kind of being in a dark period, not knowing exactly what we're going to get, except for like the new Helios and Hyperion being kind of advertised in last month's Coro, them showing it off, kind of. Well, not so much secretly, but showing them off. Having them covered, of course. But getting a new Helios and Hyperion definitely sets up for some kind of breaking vibes. Like, every protagonist has had their bay broken. It's just a given fact. Except for Hyuga and Hikaru. And it seems like their time might be coming soon with these new bays, Helios and Hyperion, the new kind of evolutions for them, coming into the fray. I wouldn't even be upset if they named them like just fully Superking Hyperion, Superking Helios. That way they could do it for all the bays, like how they did with Cho Z. Except they just do like Superking, like Spocking, for all the bays, and their, and their bays get broken. So yeah, the lights kind of just went out. I guess like a breaker flipped or something, but it's all good. Just gonna keep going with it. But the bays get broken, and then we get the new Helios and Hyperion. Definite big time setup for it. And for sure, like, even just naming all the base Super King after that, like any other protagonists get their base broken, like you get a Super King Valkyrie, a Super King Achilles, a Super King Dragon. If there are three characters that get their base broken, I can imagine the three protagonists, along with like Hikaru and Hyuga, all the protagonists getting like Super King evolutions. For sure. Definitely imagine that. But also getting towards the end of the year, and the series usually goes to like what, March? So like October's releases, then we get releases in November, December, January, February, and maybe a release in March. Who knows? But yeah, man. No matter what, like, it's gonna be a crazy build up, but that's my definite build up that I'd have for it, because it's worthy of that build up. You gotta have this extremely strong comeback, like the absolute strongest, and just Phi, Gwen, and Delta, the way those three got set up, it would make no sense if they left them out of this series. It seems like they're just characters that they're waiting to bring in, all three of them. It would make full sense, because even in the manga, like, some events switch up. I definitely want to see that manga scene where like they're all sitting around the table, because Phi, Gwen, Delta are all there with all the legends. And also, I mean, Zach's there, Jaka's there, who else? I think Dinah was there as well. And Wakia. I think they were all the ones that were at the table, or like the top 15, along with like Rantaro. But Ranjiro wasn't really in the ranks, I don't think. But still, that'll be a really sick setup to see them all around the table. And then it being some bladers pushing Lane to the point where he realizes he needs an evolution. I mainly see it being Shu that pushes him that far, because maybe Shu beats Lane and whoops him, and then after that, Lane gets absolutely upset, and then just goes to the absolute crazy mind that we've seen in the past, like how Phi lost it, how Arthur kind of lost it, how Gwen definitely lost it, and getting just corrupted by power and just being like, I want to get stronger. And these crazy minds, Ashton, Theodore, Eval, Arthur, working with him and creating another kind of quote-unquote Requiem project, except it's at a crazy level, like the absolute strongest level, because it's already at that point where Lane is facing off against some of these bladers and just completely like overpowering them, man. He can face off against multiple bladers at once and send them flying, as shown by the first battle of the Legend Festival, which is nuts. And getting to that point where no matter who faces him, even if they come at him with full power, you can't stop him. Literally the level of Rago during MFB, where nobody could stop him on their own. They had to join all their powers together, whether it was like Zeus's barrier or such. It showed with Ryuga. Ryuga got whooped, you know. RIP, he didn't die, by the way. I'm just saying. Ryuga didn't die. He gave Sakio Dragoon. Just putting that out there. I said that for the longest time. Just putting that out there, you know. But literally beat him to the point where he never battled again. And we saw like Ryuga losing that convincing fashion, no matter how strong he was. Lane possibly being that level. We need that character that's that level, that's trying to destroy the world, that's trying to completely destroy everything, destroy all these Bladers' bays. Doesn't matter how many of them attack at once, they're still doomed. And then you can see us getting like an ultimate, like heaviest bay ever. TT advertising the heaviest burst Beyblade ever that could send any Beyblade back. This ultimate bay, because the Requiem project, look at all the bays that Spring and Requiem was based off of. You know, Valkyrie, I think it was what? Valkyrie, Fafnir, Excalibur, and Longinus. All of them, all their data, and they were like four of the strongest. And got all of their powers combined into one, which is wild, dude. Imagine that for these bays now. You know, you take the very strongest Superking bays and these bladers and all their power and such, and make a bay that strong. Whether it's a new Lucifer or a different bay, we'll see over time, but we deserve this build-up for this season because it's possibly the very last season of Burst. That's why just enjoying the ride and such as much as we can. But yeah, I'm pretty sure a breaker just went off in my house, and that's why the light's not on. But we're just, like I said, still going to continue with it. But we deserve this level of build-up, man. It's got to go this far. It's got to be this devastating. It's got to be this intense. Because they got to beat out everything they've done during Burst. Like, throughout all Burst history thus far. And we got to get that dark. Like, Nemesis Crisis level dark. Like, Zeus completely covering the planet in shadows dark. Like that dark for this series. And like I said, I'm excited, but I'm nervous because I'm really excited about the bays that they're going to possibly be dropping for the rest of this series because they got to put out more. You already know, like we're only in October. We still got November, December, January, February, at least 4 more months of releases. And I feel like TT's really going to start just going off big time. Especially with the events that are going to be coming up soon. I'm really nervous about the end of this Legend Festival because I feel like a bay might break. And if so, dang it. Because I hate seeing bays break, but also they get an upgrade or such. It's like, okay. But, you know, it gets sad. Anyways, guys, that is it for this epic speculation video. Hope you enjoyed. I know it's been over a half hour, but a lot of stuff to get out with this, especially with the most recent episode, just seeing how things have gone. It's going to be absolutely crazy, dude. And I can't wait to see how things are going to go with the rest of this season. I'm excited, but I'm nervous. And it's going to be a wild ride, man. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to slice the ever-loving crap out of that like button down below. Let me know how I did. If you're new to my channel, definitely be sure to subscribe for some epic content because I upload daily. And if you haven't already, be sure to ring that bell by my channel name to be notified whenever I upload a video. I guess one question I'll answer is probably somebody will be asking, who do you think is going to be left standing at the end of all of this if it does go this way? I hope it does go this way, but no matter what, things are going to be really devastating. The very end of it, I see all the protagonists standing tall, like a lot of our favorite characters, bays getting broken and going down with this crazy, crazy fight. But maybe the protagonists winning at the end. Or if not, we see even some of our favorite protagonists get their bays broken. Like imagine Iga, Vault, Drum, all their bays get broken no matter how strong they've gotten, which would be really, really wild. Then it being down to Hikaru and Hyuga, and they barely managed to win at the very end because of everybody's power. Who knows, man? It's going to be absolutely wild to see how the rest of this season's gonna go. But yeah, till next time, it's your boy Kimbo signing off. See you guys later. Thanks so much for watching. Until then, stay awesome and cool. Shoot, I'm up out of here. Also, sorry about the lights going off. A breaker flipped or something, but it's all good, man. But I'm up out of here.